Dorothy might not come back.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. It is now 6:31 p.m. on May the 11th, and at this time, I will call this City Commission meeting to order. We will stand and we will have our invocation by Pastor Hall, and we will follow that by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Shall we pray? Our Father, we are so thankful for the opportunity of this season in which in a few days we will be celebrating our mothers. Mothers that have blessed us and through their love, their service, their unfailing devotion to us have earned the right to be honored. And Lord, we ask now that this body, these who have been elected and those who have been hired to work with them, should have that same type of love and devotion to this community, that this community should know the unfailing love and the unfailing care and concern for it that it deserves. And may these, your people who have been brought to this place for this time, may they have that anointing from on high to bring forth that kind of compassion and concern for our community, for all of our community, the young, the old, the well-off, the not-so-well-off. No matter who resides in this community, may they experience that love and compassion and concern that a mother would give through the servants of this community. And Lord, we'll bless you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Hull, we thank you very much for that prayer. And at this time, we will ask roll call for Ms. Quinn.
Okay. Mayor James.
Here.
Vice Mayor Evans.
Here.
Commissioner Jamison.
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
Okay, very good. With that, we will move on and ask for agenda comments. Approval of agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Right, it is properly moved and second that the agenda be approved as printed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Our next item is approval of our minutes from Commissioner meeting of April 27th.
So move.
Second.
Okay, it has been properly moved and second that our minutes be approved as written from April 27th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, minutes are approved. Our next item says presentation of canine equipment to High Springs Fire Department from Ms. Lita Carrera.
A few weeks ago, while watching television, I saw a program where they talked about the firefighters didn't have proper equipment to save animals during fires or whatever situation that required these masks. The masks that they have are for humans or for children, just do not fit over the muzzle of a dog or a cat. So unfortunately, even though they violently try, they are unable to save the animals. So I decided to do a fundraiser, and I was speaking to one of my friends, and I mentioned the fact that there were these kits, and she wrote me a check to cover the entire cost of this particular kit. Now I'll show it to you because you'll see. Small, poodle, and large.
Wow.
Okay, so it covers your shepherd, your dachshund, and your miniature poodle. And there are hoses in here as well. So, on behalf of Susan and Roger Beck, I'd like to gift this kit to our Fire Chief Gillingham. And I also want to mention that I intend to continue raising this money because I want to make sure that Trenton and Newberry and everybody else gets a kit like this. So if you'd like to donate, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's very nice.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
That was
great,
a
isn't it?
wonderful thing for you to do that.
Thank you.
Now they have different sizes, so now you get easier.
Mini crickets. We have a dog that we were up in Maine, and so we had them boarded, and he was blind and couldn't hear and diabetic, and he did start failing, and the girl did do CPR. I'm not CPR, but breathe through his nose. They have a way to do it, and she kept him alive.
What?
I just want to take a minute and thank everyone that was involved in this gracious donation. Without donations like this, we wouldn't be able to provide these services. And this allows us to enhance our services and provide a better quality of care, not only to our citizens, but to their pets as well. So again, thank you from the fire department. We appreciate it, and we will put them in use, and they will go on the truck tonight as we pull out of here. Thank you.
Good.
I just want you to know that while Lita mentioned other areas, she already has the money for at least one other city around us. And if it's up to her, by the end of the year, every city around us will have them. And she is just wonderful.
Yes. Great.
And again, we thank you for that. All right, moving right along. Unfinished business, okay?
Madam Mayor, I'll read this by title only. This is ordinance number 2017-03, an ordinance amending the adopted 2016-2017 fiscal year budget of the City of High Springs, providing an effective date and providing for conflict. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance 2017-03 upon its second reading by title only.
All right, we have any comments here?
The only change that I want to mention is what we discussed at the last meeting. Can y'all hear me?
No.
Try again.
The only change, as we discussed at the last meeting, was the CRA. We updated that budget. It just carries the same budget from the original to the amended. So that's the only change.
Everything is status quo.
The page numbers at the bottom, the last one says 102 of 107,
102 of 107.
because I was making sure I had gotten to the end of it.
She's saying 102 is the last page.
Yeah.
Last page, let me see. That is it. The reason being is we have some other pages that, like headers
Yeah,
and capital outlay that are,
they're counted in there.
yes,
Okay.
they're part of it.
Okay.
Really, one of
Yeah,
five
no,
is
you got
they
it.
give me a bonus and I have to. Yeah,
That too.
That's
We're working on
that was
it.
a joke, by the way.
Yeah.
You know somebody will take it away.
Wouldn't be the first. Make a motion to approve ordinance 2017-3.
Second.
All right, it has been properly moved and second that ordinance 2017-3 be approved. Ms. Vaughn?
Commissioner Jamison,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones, yes. Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Mayor James,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Evans,
Yes.
All right. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 2.
Madam Mayor, this is ordinance 2017-04, an ordinance of the City of High Springs, Florida, amending Chapter 78, Article 1, Utilities in General of the City of High Springs Code of Ordinances, establishing a readiness to serve charge for wastewater for those property owners who fail to connect to the available wastewater system within the notice period of time, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance 2017-04 upon its reading by title only.
Comments, concerns?
This is the one that we discussed, that we wanted to go ahead and this ordinance only covers wastewater and it doesn't cover water. And we have customers also that have lines in front of their house that are not connected.
Right.
And we don't have the ability to charge them for the water, the same as the wastewater. So what I discussed with Courtney earlier, she said we could amend this ordinance and have second reading next meeting, if you all choose to add the water to it.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2017-4 with the amendment of adding water.
So here's the choice, and you can go forward with this ordinance as it is. This would be a substantive change to this ordinance. If you make the amendment adding water to the ordinance now, then this would be a substantive change, meaning you have to go back to the beginning of the process. And what Courtney was saying is that if you add that in this evening, you should have the provision and add the water and wastewater services to the change. And we could do that this evening. Preferably, you would go back and add the language to the ordinance and then have another first reading with the written document in front of you, and then have second reading. My suggestion to you is to go ahead and finish this process out this evening with the ordinance as it is reads and as it is written now, and that way you don't have any questionable process. Then we can add the water to that, and we'll have two readings on that, and then go through the process of the amendment. So that would be my suggestion of the way to handle it.
Withdraw my amendment.
So I would agree with that, and I was going to suggest that I think this is a separate issue. Personal opinion. So I would rather deal with this, and then we can determine whether we want to do the water. This, to me, this is a completely separate issue. So I would want to continue with it tonight, and then you can bring back something with the water separate. That would be my opinion.
All right, anybody else has any comments?
So, yeah. Question. How many people you know that have the water line in front of the house but not?
Well, this one's sewer line.
I know.
It's not just the water line. We have people that have wells as well, with water going out. I would say there's probably 15 to 20 right off the top of my head that I know, but we're still finding them. But we have people that are on wells that have water in front of their house. And that's kind of, however y'all want to do it, that's something that we wanted to capture as well.
Some cities allow you to keep when that situation happens, you're supposed to connect. If you're within so many feet of the water line, then the regulations say you're supposed to get, I think it's 200 feet of the water line. But some cities, and I have to check our regulations to see if they allow, or we would allow the well to remain for irrigation purposes. So some cities allow that to have non-potable uses, but you can keep it for irrigation, and then connect to the city water line for the potable water to your residents. So that
we allow that now.
Okay.
And in fact, we promote either putting in a irrigation meter or a well to go ahead and irrigate with.
I believe that our ordinance says that you're supposed to connect, but again, like the sewer, there's no connect. That's kind of the change that.
What ordinance is that? Because I haven't focused on that one. I focused on this one. It's within the same.
Yeah, it's in the
same category.
Yes.
Okay.
So, you may help me. Doesn't the health department say something about hooking up to wells? Not so?
Not so.
So
Yeah, they have everything to do with septic systems, but not the wells.
Not with wells. Okay. That's all right.
That's it? Anybody else? Okay, so our recommendation is to proceed and process this particular ordinance here tonight, and then come back later and do what we need to do to capture everything else.
Sure.
Am I
Yes, ma'am.
understanding it?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay.
That being
Well-
said, I make a motion to approve ordinance 2017-04.
Second.
Okay, it has been properly moved and second that ordinance 2017-4 be approved. Ms. Park?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson?
Before I say yes, you got to do public comment, don't you? So I'm going to abstain for a second until you do public comment, because I don't think we can vote on something and then have public comment. So I'm going to hold off on mine until public comment, if that's okay.
That's fine, that's my error. All
And
right,
mine too. I should have caught that as well. But thank you, Commissioner.
all right, thank you. Okay, then at this time, we will open for public comment. Okay, seeing no one coming forward, we will close public.
I'll say yes.
Okay, with that in mind, motion carries 5-0. All right, we will move now to citizens' requests and comment for issues that are not on the agenda. And please state name for the record and limit your comments to 5 minutes, please.
My name's Kay Evans. Good evening. I may take a little longer than 5 minutes, but with all the frustration we've been going through with the code enforcement or not lack of, I may need a little bit more time. I would like to know where the hell are they, because I don't see code enforcement in our city anymore. In particular, there is a house on Northwest 4th Avenue and Northwest 9th Street. You all know where it is. Do you need the official? The official thing is Northwest 188th Avenue and Northwest 244th Street. It is a garbage dump. Not only is it a garbage dump, there's business being associated. It goes all the way out to the street at times. There are cars blocking the road. There's children next door trying to play. We don't know what's going on. At one time, he was told to shut down with a $250 fine per day, and he was doing that, and then I guess our code enforcer went away, or whatever happened to that position, and now we're stuck again running by that place. And I wish that my yard could look that way. Sometimes it does, but I don't have to worry about it, do I? Because we have no code enforcer in High Springs. There are often multiple complaints toward this. The last one was last Thursday, but there's someone in the audience that has complained continuously about it, and I wish that Bill Whitlock was here. I'm going to kill him. He's supposed to come and talk, but and he knows the codes, and he's wondering why we are not having a code enforcer come by and stop that trash.
Madam Mayor, maybe if I could begin on this issue and then turn it over to the city manager. The city manager and I met, it's sometime in the last 2 weeks, but it's probably about a week and a half ago, and we identified Rick Wolf, who's retired code enforcement for Alachua County. And so we're working with Mr. Wolf. Even though he's retired, he has kept all of his certifications, and he used to teach the certification course for code enforcement. He's been the president of the National Code Enforcement Association, very well respected in the code enforcement world. And so we're trying to work with him to serve part-time as code enforcement officer for this city and perhaps other small cities. So we have that in motion. Part of the process is getting somebody that is certified to actually enact the code enforcement process. So that's step number one, and getting somebody on our staff that can do that. Secondarily, we have the concept of the special magistrate now. So you don't have to have all of the components of the code enforcement officers or the code enforcement officials as your judiciary board. You simply have a magistrate who writes the order, and it somewhat streamlines the process. So these things are in motion right now, and so this action is in motion, and I don't know if we'll be able to come to contract with Mr. Wolf or not, but that is certainly something that we have in motion right now.
This gentleman has been issued a civil citation, several letters. He just absolutely is refusing to do anything until I have the legal ability to force him to do so. We're kind of at odds right now.
What would that take?
So it's going to take a special magistrate, somebody who can issue an order, and then we can follow it up with court proceedings or something if that's necessary. But right now, because I don't even have a code enforcement board, we're kind of at odds with this individual who's not doing anything.
And what about the guy who does the building permits? Is he not qualified to enforce the codes?
Nobody is qualified to enforce the codes except the special master or a magistrate or a code enforcement board. We couldn't get enough members in the code enforcement board to even have a meeting. Therefore, we are changing our whole process to go to the magistrate system. And I empathize with you, and it looks like it's a junk hole, and I'll make a special visit out there and talk to him one more time. But we're going to be less than cordial if we have to go to the magistrate.
Well, and you don't want to talk to him without a police officer present.
Well,
yeah. So
yes.
When?
Soon.
Soon?
Yeah, but the attorney is putting together the ordinance.
Soon. All right. I'll be back in 2 weeks.
Well, I was going to say, can we communicate this? She shouldn't have to come back.
No.
And so if there's some way we can get a number or something and let her know.
Well, when I see him packing up, I'll know it's been done.
But I'm just saying, just the communication part.
Just so there's no misconception here, though, it's not going to be a 2 week.
That's right.
There's no possible way we can do it. We've been going through a transition. We're trying to get a magistrate lined up. We're trying to get a codes enforcement officer lined up. But that's going to take ordinances to do that. There's no possible way it's going to be done in 2 weeks. So when it's not done in 2 weeks, it doesn't happen overnight. Nothing in city government happens overnight. I hate it. All things will move a lot faster when I got here, but it's just not the way things work. But we are actively working on it.
So an ordinance, you mean, has to come from the magistrate?
Yes, ma'am. You've got to pass an ordinance, and that's a month-long procedure. You have to do it on 2 readings, and our meetings, you have to go through 2 meetings to get this done. And in one of those meetings, the ordinance has to be advertised 10 days in advance of the second and final reading. So there's some timeline requirements that have to be met in order to implement the change to the ordinance. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is we have to come to an agreement with the code enforcement officer. Both of these things can work in conjunction with each other. He's not the only code enforcement officer in the world, so we can go to other alternatives perhaps if we need to, but this seems as though a very ready fit. He's retired. When I talked to him directly, and your manager talked to him, the wife was very in favor of getting the retired husband out of the house. So that was probably the most important negotiation part that we had. But these things are in motion, I'll tell you that.
Mary? Okay, thank you. I'll leave.
I did bring it in when you talked to me about it the other day.
Yes.
So he's working on it.
Okay.
Good evening. Our names are Mary and Jack Lynch, and we live at 188 41 244th Street, the old 9th Avenue. I always have to run to my computer to see what my address is. Anyway, we want to be on record in support of Katie Evans and our community on that street. Katie is right, and you all know it's a junkyard. But the other thing is, the financial end of it is that the city is losing out on the money that they could be getting in taxes from sale of all this stuff. There's constant noise. There's yelling back and forth to the different cars and trucks that are dropping stuff off. So yes, it needs to be addressed, and addressed soon and hard.
He's not just selling washers and dryers anymore. He's selling used cars.
He's selling everything.
He's got everything under the sun over there. He's got to be a toxic waste dump. God knows what's behind that fence.
Oh, and that's the other thing too, is that Jack believes, and there's a toxic fume whenever he starts lighting up his burn barrel or whatever he's doing behind the fence. We go out and we're trying to breathe. I'm actually coughing because of whatever he's burning, and Jack seems to think that he's burning the rubber off of wiring.
Yeah.
It's terrible. The wind's blowing the wrong way.
Yeah.
We have to stay in the house. We shouldn't have to.
So this needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam Mayor.
Oh, yeah, we have a permit, that's for sure.
Yes.
Isn't there ordinance that how many yard sales you can have?
Oh, there is. I mean, I could use the zoning ordinance. It's forcing the gentleman. You know, I can't use Antoine and his group to go over there and force it, because code enforcement in this state is very specific, and it takes a code enforcement officer and a magistrate. If you start using police and police powers to do those kind of things, you get in real trouble. Mm-hmm. So he's probably violating a whole slew of our ordinances. It's forcing him and getting a judge to put a lien against the property. Mm-hmm. And that's where you really get the force. I'll start going over there and spending some time, and we'll have a discussion. Because when we start the process and he hasn't cooperated, we're not going to accept anything. We will go forward with the full force of the law.
Yes, sir. And also one more question. And about junkyard, is there ordinance about where junkyard can be? What
Absolutely.
For
yes, sir.
Junkyard, one question. It's got to have a fence around it. And
I know.
I'm quite sure that's not zoned.
It's not zoned properly. That is correct.
Yeah. And I just want to say that the people on that corner, I got a phone call just last week about that very same property. Mm-hmm. And I passed it 1,000 times until I got a phone call. I said, hey, you know what? This is a I call it the Sanford Sun corner. It's ridiculous. It's truly ridiculous. So I say we move as fast as possible on that because it truly is an eyesore.
Yes, sir.
Too, it also sounds like it's not only an eyesore, but it's also a health hazard. If whatever he's burning is causing health issues, like Ms. Lynn said, it causes her to cough every time she go outside when he's burning.
Well,
That's
we have a burn ban in this county, and if I see he's burning, I'll bring the fire department and everyone else, and we'll make an issue of it.
Okay, but this one we got to stay on top of.
You have to come back.
Yes.
You got to come back to the podium.
It's me again. He does not own that house, I don't think. You may want to talk to the owner, which is his mother.
Okay.
So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Stop doing this, we'll call your mom.
I think I'll have you come over.
No, you probably don't want me.
That's sad.
I'm not always immediate.
Let's just make just something. We have a strategy that is in place that is going to rectify this.
Not only this place, but we have many others.
I know that, but I mean, we have a strategy and something's in place so the people, they have to have confidence in what we're doing. Otherwise, we might as well go home. So, I mean, so we have something in place that we're pursuing and
we are
an end game.
That is correct.
Okay.
Where do we get a special magistrate? Is that a judge or?
No, it's actually an attorney, and we have identified one that's here in town. He has experience, and he just put an office up in the downtown area. So as soon as the ordinance is put in place, then we'll start the process. We'll also look for the magistrate. In the meantime, I can act as the but I have to have somebody to go to. So I can, in the meantime, act as the code enforcer, as the building department can, as the fire department can. But our problem is we don't have anybody to really take the issue to and make it a court.
The magistrate's replacing the code enforcement board.
Oh, okay.
We can't get enough people to participate to make that function properly.
So
the magistrate is just going to act as the board, but it'll streamline things, make it quicker. We just have to get that in place.
you can cite them, but there's nothing you can do without the magistrate to actually enforce the citation.
That is correct.
It'd be like me writing a ticket for you looking over.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do to make you pay it.
Okay.
Sorry.
I want them to, I just want to make sure they understand the process on it, as far as we don't have a code enforcement board because people don't show up, so therefore we're trying to get a magistrate. So we can be doing everything we want, but there's nothing to enforce the citation.
That is correct.
Right.
Okay, I just don't want them to think this is government just sort of doing what government does. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
I was asked by two people, actually, to be part of the code enforcement board, and one of them at the time was Sue Weller, and then the other person, I don't know his name, I'm sorry, he's down in Public Works at this point now. But anyway, he broached it. He says, well, we need a code enforcer. I said, yes. I said, and? I said, I'm a New Yorker, and I said, I really don't want to get shot. So I am not, I did not step forward to do that. And I'm sorry, but, I like my life.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
You don't have to, and doing it with the magistrate makes it to where
Magistrate's
the
easy.
citizens are not wanting to do it.
Yes.
For whatever reason, time, whatever it might be. So we're getting them lined up where we can do a magistrate, where everything can still function and be done the way it should be done without having to have a code enforcement board.
Okay.
Yes.
It may take a little longer, but I think that's a much better approach.
It
I
is.
feel it is.
Right.
And if somebody gets mad, they get mad at the lawyer.
They just get mad.
And who doesn't get mad at the lawyer?
You don't have to worry about
That's right, I'm very used to it.
We should have,
It does.
we should have for the next meeting that ordinance coming forward.
Absolutely
Yeah,
will.
because Newberry just did it, and I'm told that we have the same attorney, so.
We just want to expedite it.
That's right.
Yes, most definitely. Okay, thank you, ladies, for bringing that to our attention again. And we're going to do our best to see what we can do to solve this issue for you. All right. Is there any other citizen comments? If not, all right, we'll move right along to new business. Discuss and consider authorizing attorney to negotiate leases for city-owned buildings.
We have a number of buildings in town that we have private organizations, and we treat them all differently. We have the daycare center where we charge them rent. We have the Boy Scouts and the Garden Club, and we charge them utilities. We have the Catholic Charities, and we don't charge them anything. What we want to do is standardize what we do and go ahead and let them use the buildings because they're surplus, but make them pay for their utilities. And this would, number one, we found recently that the daycare center had a gas leak but didn't note because they weren't paying the utilities. We want to turn that around. We're not going to really make anybody pay more money than they did before because the cost of the utilities will equal about what the rent was out at the daycare center. They're already paying the utilities for the Boy Scouts and the Garden Club. And the Catholic Charities, I'll be honest with you, they need to pay something. I mean, I don't want to go into it, but they need to pay their utilities, period. So Courtney is doing a contract with everybody. It's a lease contract, basically, that says you're going to pay for your utilities. And that's...
We've talked about that.
We did. And I think the Catholic Charities have indicated that they really want to move, so we'll take back that building then.
Are they wanting to move solely because of this?
No. They wanted to move because it's too small a building, not enough parking.
They need more space.
More space is what they want.
If you've got a question, just approach the microphone and wait for the mayor. Wait for the mayor to call on you.
Yes.
Hi, it's me again. I just need to correct you, Mr. Booth. It's not Catholic Charities that runs the food pantry over there. That's run through the parish of St. Madeleine.
Yeah, it's
Oh, well, yeah, okay. It's,
all right. Just don't want you to send the bill to the wrong place. That's
I'm sorry.
We had-
So noted.
Courtney and I actually did discuss the lease. There is a couple of things that we wanted to bring to get some clarification. We are putting in there that the property insurance will be paid for by the city, as we've always paid it, but liability will be covered by the persons that are renting the building. This is something that if you guys would make a decision for us or guide us in that direction. And then the other piece is the maintenance and alterations to the building. Is that going to be, currently she has it as the lessee's responsibility, but I don't know that that's what you all wanted. So any modifications to the building, who's the responsible party, as well as maintenance of the building?
Well, it would be fair, since we're giving the building lease free, that individuals that want to make any changes to that building should be that organization, not the city.
I concur with that. I think the maintenance part, I think you have to be careful as to what type of maintenance it is. I think you can get a line where it's just basic cleanup as opposed to putting a roof on it.
No, building maintenance, specific.
Yeah.
Well, then that would be ours.
Okay, that's what That's just some of the things.
Right.
Courtney's just about got the
No,
lease
I mean,
done. We just wanted to get some clarification before we brought it back.
I mean, personally, I think it's our building. We would need to do those major things. The other
That's right.
unit modifications that they would have to come to the city to get approved.
Well, it's like the water heater we found that was leaking. We immediately took it out and put a new one in at our expense.
Yeah, that's a maintenance.
That's a maintenance thing.
Okay.
However, if you want to move a wall or something, because
That's different.
That's your expense.
What I would suggest, Madam Mayor, is a couple of things on that. First of all, the property appraiser's office and the tax collector have gotten real stringent on cities leasing property to private entities that are for profit. So if you can have the property being used for a public purpose, which is typical, if we're not charging a rent, then typically, like the Women's Club has a public purpose, the Catholic Church, or those kind of the Boy Scouts, and on and on and on, serve a public purpose. So the property appraiser does not charge. We are exempt from ad valorem taxation, and so if there's a public purpose, we continue that exemption. If it is not a public purpose, then the entity, or there's a contest on that, and we go to the board, the Board of Adjustment, and we lose on that issue, then whoever the entity is should pay the ad valorem taxes in that event. So that's what I would suggest we add to the lease on that provision.
Right.
Secondarily,
let me clarify this, Kevin. So public purpose is different than not for profit.
Well, it can be. That's right.
That's right. At least it would be for a public purpose. Right. You would not include not for profit.
If it's a not-for-profit, then typically that is for a public purpose. And the way we would craft it is we would say specifically in the lease that if the property is being utilized for a public purpose and there are no taxes, then there's no tax associated, no ad valorem taxes. However, if it is determined by the tax collector that ad valorem taxes are due, and the city loses on that argument, then you as the lessee have to pay the taxes. So we spell it out just like that.
Okay.
Number one, so that would be one thing that I would suggest on that issue. Secondarily, on the issue of maintenance, I think we should spell that out very definitely as well. And typically what I try to do is say if there's a break point. If it's $1,000 or less on maintenance, the lessee pays. 500 or less, whatever you all direct us to do. If it's $1,000 or more, a roof, AC, any of the major maintenance expenses is our ticket. The long-term major expenses would be on the city's side.
Well, that's why I asked on the structural type of thing, because if they want to paint the inside and it's $1,500 to paint, that should be their decision to paint.
Right.
So I don't know, could it be worded somehow to where it's some type of structural maintenance? Is there a way to define that as opposed to a aesthetic?
I usually put it as a number, a dollar number. Anything over this, then it's on your ticket. Then it's on the city's expense. If it's something that is a minor, so I do major, minor is the way I define it. And then, of course, if somebody comes to you and says, well, wait a minute, we spent $500 last month. We turn around now, we're having to spend another $500. You can always say that's not justified. We should pick that up. So you can always agree to, but you have something very definite numerically that says, okay, this is an item that you all ought to cover.
I'd say $500 would be enough. I think that's more fair, especially since they're getting the place rent-free. If they can't put in their own hot water heater, minor maintenance issues of $500.
Also on the exemption for property taxes, Mr. Walker, I believe if they file Form 990 would exempt them. So if they are renting, if we're giving it to them, they would need to produce a Form 990, which is their exemption, their nonprofit exemption. So every one of these probably, I'm fairly certain, file Form 990. that we might want to just add that in there.
Sure.
I'm good with the 500. You know, I'm they're just doing the utility.
Show some information about liability. What were you saying about liability?
Pardon?
What were you saying about liability?
The lessee would provide their own liability insurance based on what their business is. The city has property insurance, but we don't cover, I don't believe we cover them for liability because it's not a city function. So, for example, at St. Madeline's, if somebody was to trip in the store because they were buying something, I'm not sure what they do over there exactly, it wouldn't be the city's responsibility, it would be St. Madeline's.
So what we typically do is say you will have $1 million worth of public liability insurance, naming the city as an additional insured to your policy. So that's the typical language. And
Boy Scouts have it nationally.
that's right. Yeah. So it's usually not a big expense.
Sure. Have that.
And then that insurance policy stands first in a liability type contest. And then our general liability insurance would stand second. So if there was a calamity on the property such that it was a major event, that would be the number one policy, and then second would be our liability policy because we're the owner of the property. So every property we own should be on our insurance contract as far as being insured. So no matter if somebody's leasing it or whatever, because we would get sued as the owner in a lawsuit where somebody is hurt on the property, we would also get sued. Now, to exceed our statutory cap, it's hard for somebody to get around that and sue you, the city, for more than $200,000, but that's a whole nother kettle of fish.
Okay, one more question. I guess it's for the city manager, General, so I might know. So now, with the daycare center, is there separate meters for the park and the daycare? Or are they one meter?
There is one now, but we'll put in another meter.
Okay.
Because we can't have them paying for the park.
No way.
No way, but
They can do that.
But we'll, when we turn that around, we'll put in another water meter for them.
Okay. And so about electricity, is that, are they on the same meter?
No, they're on a different meter.
With the,
if they're not, we'll make sure they are.
I know if the line that runs from the daycare center to that pavilion, it operates off of that daycare center.
Okay. We'll make sure it's before we put it into effect, we'll make everything is set up that way.
Yeah, good point, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer, is that enough?
Do you need a motion to do this? Or?
No, you've given us the direction, and then we'll approve the standardized lease. We'll bring that back to you, and if you all approve it, then we'll have something we can work with.
You got a question?
Yes.
Linda Carrero. My understanding is that the chamber doesn't pay their utilities. Is that correct?
I don't think so, do we?
I don't know. To tell you the truth, I'll look into it.
So when
I don't think so.
We pay their utilities, but they're gonna fall under this, unless you're telling me different, they're billing, they're gonna fall under the same
okay.
everybody else.
Okay.
Yeah, because it is a city building.
Yeah.
Any city, this would apply to all city buildings.
Yeah, I don't mind, as a citizen and a taxpayer, I don't mind them not paying for taxes that are not being utilized, but I do resent paying for their utilities.
Sure.
So great, thank you.
Okay, are we all clear with this issue? All right, then. Let's move on to issue number 2. Discuss and consider acceptance of Confederate monument from Alachua County and authorize locating in High Springs Cemetery.
Received a call from the county manager's office. The county, do we have a picture of that? Okay. The county been dealing with this monument in front of the county courthouse, the county administrative building for the last 3 years.
Yep.
The commissioners have directed the county manager to find a place for this monument other than in front of the administrative building. He saw on the news that we were having a ceremony for some of the Confederate soldiers that were buried in our cemetery, and wanted to know if the commission would accept this monument to be put out there. And I said I would bring it to you. It would be, of course, at their expense.
They just want to get rid of it.
They just want to get rid of it. That's right. That's absolutely correct.
They can't find a home for him.
It's a rather large monument.
It is, and it's tall, large and tall. Well, commissioners, comments?
Yes, I'm going to speak first. As sitting in the back thinking about it, and the controversy with these monuments, I just on the news today, I think in New Orleans, they just removed 3, if I'm not mistaken, at least 3 of them. How can I put this nice? I don't want to take on the county's headache. I just, I just don't want to take on the county's headache. It's not going to benefit High Springs financially in any kind of way. History is what it is, but I just don't want to take on that burden. And just in case, and I'm peace. I'm a person of peace and unity. If it's going to bring about any controversy in the city of High Springs, I'm not for it at all. And I think that it will, because somebody's going to protest about it. So I say, let the county handle their own problem. If they got a cemetery over there, wherever they got it, whatever. But me personally, I don't want to accept it in the city of High Springs, just to keep the confusion down. And
my thoughts were somewhat similar. I don't see why we need this monstrosity either, if you want to know how I feel. And as you said, it's just going to be something else to draw us apart, put a wedge in the middle, and cause conflict. And I don't think we want to do that. We are getting along well, and I want to continue to do that. And I don't think this will be an asset that's going to help us do that at all. So my answer is, like Commissioner Williams says, let the county take care of their own problem. Yes, sir.
Well, I guess I'm going to be a dissenting voice.
That's all right.
I would not want to pay for the move, for the monument, but if they're willing to move it to our cemetery, erect it, put a proper foundation under it for free of charge, I would not be against it. You say there's no use for this monument. Well, if there's no use for this monument, there's no use for any monument.
That's not the
It commemorates a time in history that happened here in America. Do I agree with slavery? Heck no. But the Civil War happened, and we have Civil War veterans from both sides, North and South, buried in that cemetery. It's an error in history. And there's been several people that have quoted something along the lines, those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. And if it's a museum, if it's a monument, what's the difference? If we forget our history, it will happen again. If we forget the lessons learned from fighting the Civil War, if we forget the lessons learned from the bad things that happened with slavery, if we forget the lessons learned through the civil rights movement, then we're doomed to repeat it. It's going to happen again. This is just a monument commemorating a time in history, soldiers that died fighting for their country. And we have both in the High Springs Cemetery already. But like I said, I'm not in favor of moving this at our expense. But if the county was willing to move it on their dime and set it up on their dime, I would not be opposed to it. And I think it would be a good addition to a historical cemetery that we have here in High Springs. It's probably the oldest one in this edge of the county, I would imagine.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
This is a part of history that we never will forget. Never will. Never. The Civil War will never be forgotten. Never. That was one of the worst wars in the United States of America. And it caused so much division. And my thing is, I ain't got a problem with that, the Confederates or whatever. But why move something in the High Spring? Now, if it's already out there, I wouldn't have a problem with it. It's not here. It's this county problem, and let the county handle it. I just don't want to bring that kind of confusion in the High Spring. We've been living without all these years, so why do we need it now? Why? I don't see how it's going to serve the city of High Springs at all. It ain't going to bring no economic development. It just won't. I think it's going to bring trouble, and we just don't need that in the city of High Springs. We just don't need it. We've been peacefully now, so let's keep it peacefully as it is.
I agree with you, Byron. I just don't think a statue is going to disturb our citizens.
Maybe not the citizens of High Springs, but it bring some other folks from other places. I don't care about them coming, but I care about the citizens of High Springs. And I don't want people to come from, they might be from wherever, but if they bring it here to High Springs, we don't need to. It's been going over there with the county for how many months now? Causing confusion over there. To move it or not to move it. I mean, bickering and backwards and forth. And again, history is what it is. We can't change history. It is what it is. And will it ever be forgotten? No. I just don't believe it will be. But for the sake of the city of High Spring, for peace sakes and for unity's sakes, let the county handle that statue. It's their problem. Let them do what they want to do with it over there.
Amen.
Well, we seem to be hearing from some citizens who feel exactly the same way you do. I hadn't thought of it in that terms, that bringing it here might cause some dissension here in the city of High Springs. I see your point, Jason. I share a lot of your feelings, but again, we don't need problems. We don't need anything that could cause problems. And there has been a lot of dissension over in Gainesville. So,
and it's going to follow right over here if we bring that statute.
But we have a majority, so I will tell the county manager he can take care of his own problem.
Tell him thank you, but no thank you. Shall we move right along? Item number 3. Consider authorizing CRA Executive Director on behalf of the High Springs Farmers Market to apply for United Healthcare Community Grants. Yes, ma'am.
Hello and good evening. So this is a very unique grant opportunity that was presented to me. It would be for the farmers market and for St. Madeline's. And what this grant is, it is a grant to fight food insecurity in High Springs, and it is a $20,000 to $30,000 grant. It is for established programs already, so they would not have to create a new program. It is just to expand their current programming. And it would be a partnership in that we received the FAB bucks, if you remember, that help, and they provide the double bucks for SNAP recipients. So a portion of that money would go to support that, and then the other part would go to St. Madeline's to help them with education on good food choices, to purchase healthy foods and distribute healthy foods. So I just need authorization to move forward with this grant. Part of the grant requires that you would give authorization before we apply for it.
All right, are there any comments or discussions from the...
No match. And what I would be doing would be helping them to write it and help with the evaluation. The actual program would be administered through St. Madeline's and the farmers market.
So there would be no additional staff needed or anything?
No.
Okay.
And once it's awarded, don't really do we need a lot of oversight on this? I mean,
No,
who's going to be in
it's
charge of it? Is it going to be St. Madeline's or?
it would be St. Madeline's, and I would oversee it. So we would, of course, the annual report would have to be done. Data would have to be collected. Certain amounts of information would be provided. I think it's quarterly to them as far as participants. They want to know like change in behaviors. So I would help them with write that. But as far as the day-to-day operations, it would be St. Madeline's in the farmers market, which would be Carol, our farmers market manager.
Go ahead. I'll make a motion, she do it.
Second.
All right, it has been properly moved and seconded that authorization be given to the executive director to proceed with this grant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you for that. All right, at this time, Mr. Walker?
Nothing, Madam Mayor.
Nothing.
Nothing.
All right, city manager.
Yes, ma'am. In front of you, you have a legislative update. The legislative is over a couple days ago. The one thing that we wound up with a speed bump, and there's a constitutional amendment that adds $25,000 homestead exemption to homes 100,000 to 125,000. The impact to the county is $9 million, and to Gainesville $12 million. It does exempt the school board, the villages, and the barrier islands. The rest of us are part of this. I estimate, based on the cost to the county and to Gainesville, our shortfall in 2 years, this will take effect in 2019, will be $200,000. It's quite a hit. And so based on that, and I've changed philosophy somewhat on our budget, in that next year's budget can't affect the follow-on budget, that we'll take a hit. Now, sooner or later, we'll make up the difference from the sewers, that the individuals connecting to the sewer fund will get more money into it. Our increase in our total ad valorem will go up because of the houses that are being built and growing, but it's still quite a bit of money. And in talking to one legislator that I had an opportunity to, didn't last long, he said, well, our opinion is, if you want to make up the difference, raise your ad valorem or raise your fees. And he didn't like my comment and walked away. So that's their opinion. It is the opinion from the Florida League of Cities is this is an anti-city county legislation group. So whatever. The other things that came about, you can see on the second page. The good thing is, for the Sunshine Law, there are a lot of people throughout the state that sue over the Sunshine Law. Now, if you lose under this legislation, then you have to pay the city the attorney fees. They feel that will slow down a little bit of all the lawsuits, and we've been involved in lawsuits ourselves. Wireless facilities, we had talked about putting in a tower over here. They wanted to do a G5. This legislation really says they have the right to do it on a right-of-way, and we can't really restrict them. The building codes, it really says that you can paint your house without a building permit. The real good thing is, I met with Swanee River last Thursday over in Cedar Key, and this legislation on page number 6 gives $50 million to Springs Protection Of that amount, this actually springs restitution or, restoration. 50 million of that, 15 million goes to the Suwannee River Water Management District. And of that 15 million, we're locked in with phase 2 now for 3 million, and that will take care of phase 1 of the sewer expansion and their wetlands project. So we're, Midtown's going to be very busy.
Good.
But,
I just had a question on the public records, having to pay attorney's fees if you lose. Could you just file bankruptcy?
You could. That would be a strategy, I'm sure, but.
Sorry for interrupting.
All right. We had farm share last Saturday. I can tell you the mayor whipped those cars out. There were 200 in an hour. They were going fast. Byron was giving away these little boxes, but it was very successful.
Yes.
And every 2 months they're going to continue doing that. We're going to do a little more advertisement of it this time because obviously we went from it was a fair showing. I think we had about 400 cars, but the time before that, I think there was at least 600.
I think we had more.
So we're going to do a little more advertisement. Public loves it. And having been in traffic control there, I got to see everybody that came through, and they were elderly. There really wasn't a lot of college kids or people. They were very old people that came through there. And so they all knew Byron. So
every 2 months?
Every 2 months.
All
yes.
right.
So they had the manager there of this whole farm share, and so we had a nice long conversation. And every 2 months he'll bring them in, and so we'll continue that project. We also had the BMX track going up at the same time, and so we had all these campers going through the lines too. So it was kind of a little unusual.
Oh my goodness.
But everybody had a great time, even over at the BMX, and it worked out well. They're going to have another event in the BMX track in October, and this is going to be a national event. So we're really going to we're going to look at more places for them to park their campers because they're going to come in large groups.
Okay.
Who said that?
What?
Somebody said your driveway.
In my driveway, yeah, I know.
No.
I'll bring my boat, right, and put it in there. That's all right. And other than that, we went to a conference with David and Rodney, and we saw a lot of things. It was good to have them actually go once and see the new equipment that we need instead of just speculating or looking at those salesmen. This time they actually got to see it and know what they need. And again, we will probably front load a little bit this budget for some equipment because the follow-on budget probably won't have it. But most of the equipment we need in this budget will come from the streets, and that's not affected by the ad valorem. That's all.
Very good. Very good. Commissioners, let's start with Commissioner Jones down there.
That's too close for comfort if they use his driveway.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Other than that, no, I have nothing at this time.
The water tower center thing?
Yes, working great. Yeah, I forgot to even mention that. Yeah, we have taken a lot of tests. I can't tell you scientifically why it does. I have a theory in that, and believe me, even the state's looking at us. I mean, because truthfully, there isn't any magic bullet to make these THMs just go away. So my theory is that the water sits in that tower some, and the stuff floats down, and then it runs, and then at times that stuff gets out there, and it creates THMs. This kind of stirs it up all the time, and it doesn't have a chance to sit there. And so we're also using hydrogen peroxide. So I'm running out of ideas, to be honest with you. However, we are going to connect some of those dead ends together, and we're getting ready to, or actually Midtower is doing the design. It's not really expensive because we don't have a long distance to really put a lot of those together. And all that we're doing great.
No, I just wanted to make sure, because I knew the spinner thing had been installed.
It did, you bet. And we have tested often. We tested before, after, and so, yeah, we're finding a big difference to that.
That's all.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Commissioner Williams.
Okay, let me clarify something. Now, the campus got lost. They were trying to find the campground.
Oh,
That farm shit.
okay.
They were coming for
okay.
Yeah, that's right. I know.
They were coming for food.
I thought word spread, you know.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Now they got lost.
Yeah.
Also with that farm share, the manager said this is the best they ever did.
Yes.
The city of High Spring is the best, but we have ours set up, so we commend them for that. And what you talked about on 9th Street over there, in front of yeah, I'm talking about the old fish market right here off of 9th Street here, the two-story building there. I mean, two-story building, the old building that's condemned there.
Yes.
So are they gonna take away the parking in front of those buildings? If you ride by there tonight, see how they got it going now, and I think that's gonna lower the value on that building because nobody won't be able to park in front of that building now the way they have it going off now.
Yeah.
Because they have limited parking anyway.
Yeah.
So I know somebody they've been trying to sell it for the longest.
Are you talking about past 9th, or are you talking about on this
Past
side?
9th.
Yeah.
Right on the right?
On the right.
Kind of like probably the first one?
Just that antebellum kind of house?
No. That old, well, I keep saying the fish market. Y'all ain't gonna know what that is.
No. Are you talking about that little strip mall?
That little strip mall.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Up at the top of the hill, that's what I call it.
Yeah, on top of the hill. Yeah. If God knows tonight when I was going down, they don't take away all the parking in front of that building now. And they don't have any parking as it is.
They got parking in the rear of it.
Yes, I'm in the rear.
Ain't much for which I don't think anybody never do something with that building. But I'm just concerned whoever owned that building, it's going to even lower the value anyway. Yeah.
I know at one time in the past, they talked about, you know how it's coming up that hill, that the park, when people park there, blocked cars from people pulling out. So that was the reason.
Oh, okay.
Really, I'd be in more agreement with that because I grew up on that road. And when you are on that stop sign at the old 9th Street and turning left onto 27, that's a hairy experience sometimes. So I would agree more with taking the parking away, even if it did limit the parking on that. Right now, there's no business in there now, is it?
No. They've been trying.
It's been empty for.
They've been trying to sell it for over 10 years, and I think one of those buildings, it's not even a floor in it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I don't even know on it now.
But DOT never asked us anyway. They just do whatever they want
their
to.
street. Yeah. I just thought that was kind of curious tonight when I passed by there tonight.
I'm sure you can make a phone call and get something done.
Yeah, I've tried before, yeah. that group.
All right, the only thing I said, he left at this time, I want to commend Reverend Hull. I want to commend him. He comes to just about every meeting.
Yes, he does.
We ask him to pray. We have asked other pastors in this community to come pray, and they're always too busy. And I always tell them they can even send a representative. It don't have to be just on the preacher. And only got to pray. We would be in bad shape on the preacher parade.
Yeah.
So they can send other representatives. I really want to commend him for coming out to each meeting. Then we ask him to pray. So we really need to let him know we appreciate that.
That's why I tried to give him an extra kudo tonight for that same reason. Because he's always ready all the time.
That's all I have.
All right, Commissioner Chase.
I'd just like to, the only other thing I'd like to say is I agree with Byron. Pastors aren't the only ones that can pray. Everybody can. There's a lot of people that pray for me all the time.
All the time.
I don't know what it is tonight. I guess I'm just in a good mood. But no, I don't have anything further to tell.
Good go.
It's not official. I asked a question. 27 and trying to get out, like down by Winn-Dixie, it's just absolutely impossible.
Can I answer that question for him?
You can answer that one, yeah.
Ain't enough people died just yet.
That's really true.
The city has tried to get traffic lights at both of those intersections since I was a young boy. I don't know if they had traffic lights when Byron was a young boy. They may have been doing it back then, too.
I don't even know they have stop signs or not.
Do they have those stone wheels yet?
But that's one reason I heard, especially when I might be wrong, but I heard there wasn't enough.
It's up to DOT. It's not within our realm of scope of being able to do it. And they just don't fit DOT's guidelines.
Yeah. After you remember, there used to be a caution light out here. You remember? You don't remember that?
Yeah, we used to have 3 lights here in town. Then they took one on the way.
We got 2.
I never updated on 9th Street. We did ask them one time for a light there. That's when they installed that flashing light.
That blinker.
I hear, yeah.
Traffic was coming, so they would put a red light there. That's the only thing they would do.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Slow down from 50 to 35, somebody's in the intersection.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, I have one nice thing. I have a thank you card from the Women's Club. And they simply want to say thank you to the city for buying all the little pinwheels that we bought to put outside for National Abuse Month. So I thank you for that. That's the good part. Mr. Booth,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
know every time I get a complaint, I come to you.
Oh, I know.
You know I do now. So I got another one.
Garbage?
This lady says there is a property next to hers that, well, it's not quite the same thing, but she needs to get them to clean up the grass and mow the lawn and all that kind of good stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
So I told her I would bring it with me tonight, and hopefully you can help. And she told me to tell you hello, Jason.
Who is it?
Miss Helen Hunt. Polly.
Polly?
Polly!
Okay.
She
That's
said,
right.
Is Jason still there? I said, yeah, Jason is there.
We'll find the owner and then send a letter.
That's it. She said if she don't want to mow her yard, that's fine. But the weeds are growing all through the fence and all that kind. And she said she would love to have it cleaned up.
Snakes.
All right. Saturday when I left the food distribution section, I went down by the post office down to the Habitat House.
Yes.
And it's really coming along nicely down there. They are separating the rooms right now. And she said this week they were going to be putting the sheetrock up, inside. And it's really coming along nice. So the next time you guys say women can't nail a nail, you think about that house right down the street down there. Because it's really doing great. And I enjoy going down there and spending the time with them. And they say they will be looking for the city to help them in the future. I assured them, based on what I was told, that we would be in line with helping them in any way that we can.
Yes, ma'am. We have all those properties we had given to Basti at one time.
Right.
And they are now up for coming back to the city. Those are the things that we could certainly donate to Habitat.
I went down and looked at the other one too, down on, what is it?
Yep. On 27.
On the corner. On 20, yeah, I went down and looked at that one. But that one, of course, they brought in 2 pieces. Yeah. But this one down from the post office, they literally built from the bottom up. Yeah, and it's really coming along nice. You guys should go take a look at it sometime.
It's my understanding they want to do more of those over at Santa Fe and then bring them here. Because they come in 2 sections, and then boom, you have a house.
Just get some super glue.
That's all you do, yep. That's exactly. No, they get the women to nail them together.
Oh, are you gonna be in trouble for that?
I'm back
It's not my fault. It's because it's him.
I know we adjourned.
Okay.
All right, that's it for me. Whoa.
Adjourn this thing.
All right, meeting adjourned.
I know.
All right, Jenny.
I'm a bad influence. Y'all can't let me in this situation.